Bro, what happened to your hair?
Man, I had to make a choice. One, there's a lot of emotional weight with that. Uh,
Yep.
I didn't believe it until somebody told me, but
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of emotional weight. And then it was actually messing up my hair. Like my hair is thinning right here
Gotcha.
because it was pulling it. And like I remember I washed it and it was literally kind of down to my butt. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. 5 years and my hair is already back down there. So
Yeah.
probably carrying around an additional
That's
like
insane.
5, 6 pounds, maybe. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
I
so
miss it.
yeah, I do too sometimes, but then I'm kind of like, nah, we're okay, we're okay.
You should just get a wig for the times that like you miss it. You just like put it on just for like, this feels nice again. All right. 5 minutes are up.
I would if I could, but then again, people would be kind of like, oh no, Sally, you're cheating.
Mm,
So, and that's
you're a
like a
bit
rule. You
you're a bit
never
sus.
no weave. You can never wear any weave. That's cheating.
That's okay. I now
Uh,
know. Not that I would ever do anything with that information.
I would
Um,
I would be good with your hair. You know what I'm saying? Just have it,
just just back like that.
uh,
Yeah,
just
sure.
just go to the barbershop and hey, just give me some mousse, split it, and then
Yep.
swipe it back.
Yep. I
Yes.
I think I went in like February or sometime or in January or something to get my hair cut, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I thought this was gonna be a quick like haircut. It's not." I'm like, "No, it's not. Not with my hair. Obviously, you haven't cut Indian hair before." Uh, so I now know not to come back to him because he did a good job, but I was like, I probably like mess up his entire schedule.
Was it? Did you do clippers or scissors?
Uh, I usually have them do clippers on the sides to like shave it down and like blend and fade it.
Okay.
And then I do scissors usually on the top. For them to just like, but then I let them do whatever they want, but like I usually expect them to like use clippers all the way around,
Hmm.
and then I say just square it up, and then they'll square it up however they want to square it up,
Okay. Yeah.
and very rarely do they do a perfect job, and I'm like it'll grow out, and then I'll fix it.
Yeah. Hey, trust me. Be grateful because my hair. I mean, my hair has been. I actually got a haircut in
Mm-hmm.
November, and then I let it kind of fro back out, and then I actually went and got
Mm-hmm.
like a full haircut to this about beginning of February, I would say.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's taken a long time to grow back. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like I'm getting a little nervous. So I'm out here looking for products and stuff like that to speed up the hair growth because I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's there's just nothing there anymore.
Yeah, I
It's
would
just
have.
all head.
Yeah, this
Pause.
was
It's just
10 years ago. I would have had a full like a fro by now. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's just hair growth or damaged or it's just age. I mean, I do know that all that stuff does kind of slow down after you turn 30, but
Mm,
I still don't like it.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. I'm almost there. I wanted to ask, and I wanted to start with, um, how has it been juggling, still trying to dance, work, family, health, and then on top of that, the sprinkle of content.
Oh, difficult, man, to say the least. Obviously, balance is balance is balance, no matter what. Um, it takes different stages, obviously, in your life. I took the route as far as in terms of early on focusing on dance first, then I did career. Looking back on it, I'm not gonna lie, I do have my days where I regret it, to where it's just like, I'd really love to, have a job to where I'm not stressed out. But without that time or what I did, I wouldn't be who I am today. So, in all honesty, dealing with that is difficult because my time is separated everywhere. I need in this day and age. Most dancers just simply just tell you, "Hey, I want a job that's enough to pay for my bills and provide for my family, but also allow me enough time and energy to be able to practice my craft and create
Mm-hmm.
content." Um, I've even spoken to said people, which is kind of tough, and I'm kind of starting to see what they're talking about. The content. creator and manager, she kind of helped me. Her name is Brittany Nosey, Nosey, and she
Mm,
was just like, "You're not going to be able to juggle a full-time career, be a dancer, and create content the way
yeah.
that you've been doing up until this point, because
Yeah.
you understand like creating content is more than just simply turn on the camera and then pressing upload. You have
Mm-hmm.
to evolve, create reels and stuff like that. So it's been pretty difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. On a scale to 1 to 10, I'd say it's probably about an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've been feeling right now. Just every time I try and do everything at once, it's just okay, I can't. It's just like okay, I just can't do it. It's not possible. Something has to give. So usually content gives. It's not what's paying the bills. But have you like do you kind of know what you want out of all these different kind of facets of life to like know like I'm working towards this in my health and my fitness. I'm working towards this in my content. I'm working towards this in terms of balancing family, and I'm working towards this for work, etc. Like, do you have an idea of like what you're going towards?
The only part of it that I would say the dance for sure. I would love to be able to make some type of money off of the content that I create, because obviously beforehand had a lot more time and financial support,
Mm,
um, and I could do interviews, shoot different type of content, shoot stuff like that. Um, but to state the obvious, me and my, well, not the obvious, but some people know, like me and my previous partner are not together anymore. So
mm,
obviously I don't have that, again, that financial backing to be kind of like, okay, I don't have to go that hard into work.
yeah.
Um, but now that literally pretty much everything is on me, I have to work hard and the content is suffering. So
Mm,
realistically speaking, I have the vision and I know what I want to do as far as content creation and dancing, because those are two separate things.
yeah.
But the difficulty is finding the balance for work, because the job that I had was not designed to support a content creator's life. It was there to support a family.
Right.
So my only responsibility is now just making sure that I'm in my daughter's life and then taking care of myself, and that's pretty much it. So
Mm,
being a truck driver in that particular field, or excuse me, being a CDL driver, it's not sustainable. It was never
mm,
designed for that. Like CDL driving essentially was meant for you to be on the road. Like they call us the, kind of the, not the iron cowboy, but we're the modern cowboys of today,
yeah.
because we're on the road, we're disconnected, from everything. So that's the type of life you're supposed to lead. So I'm trying to pivot in another direction as far as career
Mm,
wise,
mm,
and honestly get into physical therapy. So
yeah.
so that's where I'm at. But as far as the content, yeah, like I want to be able to really create a network, to where a variety of people are talking about dance and the art and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
personal opinion, well, everybody knows like dance is the least appreciated art form out there, and we're the most underpaid as well. So I think it would be important to be able to create some type of channel to where we're all collectively kind of talking about it, like things that do motivated me, like $1 million worth of game, Joe Budden. I kind of like Joe Rogan's podcast, so
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So is this stuff that you like listen to all the time, or just like when you're feeling like I want a little bit of extra like knowledge, information, whatever it is, you just kind of go listen to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just listen to people's podcasts just in general, because
Mm,
obviously being a CDL driver, like I'm working between now I'm not, but I didn't back. I would say from August all the way until 2022,
mm,
into 2022, I didn't work anything less than 16 hours every time I went to work.
mm,
And it is literally
yeah,
just delivering, driving, or unloading, things of that nature. So, and I would say about 75% of the time I was by myself. So I would always have something in my head, just kind of keeping my mind focused. So
yeah,
uh, I guess it's just kind of just a go-to thing whenever music starts to get boring. And I love to hear other people's content and what they talk about. So anything, politics, health, dance, sports, entertainment, anime, love it.
yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what what have you been thinking about lately then? Like it's the beginning of the year, or it's like a quarter into the year now.
Mhm.
Um but are there any kind of recent life lessons that you learned that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Yeah. It's a cold-hearted one, which I will definitely say that I think that is directed towards people who are going to be entrepreneurs or um, artists in general.
Mhm.
No matter what people try and tell you, or what we're convinced in this day and age, you have to prioritize yourself above everything else if you expect to be successful.
Mhm.
And that's before your family, that's before your friends, that's before pretty much everything. I'm not going to say religion because I know that some people feel differently about that, but the thing that it was for me is that you can try and take care of the entire world, but if you don't take care of yourself, at the end of the day, you're always going to fall short. The
Mhm.
same premise, like, I can't save you if I can't save myself. Um, and a lot of that did teach me that I'm going to have to consciously close doors on people and things that do not benefit me in the long run. Like, you have to prioritize your
Right.
time. And whether we want to admit it or not, the people that do come in our lives, the things that we have now, are because we're on the path that we're on.
Mhm.
So, in a weird way, and it was very controversial when I spoke about it with my partner, and I was just like, I have to put myself first because I know me. And
Mhm.
that can come off very selfish, when you kind of just hear it blatantly like that. But I always
Yeah.
tell people, like, yo, I have integrity. Like, if you give me the time to solely focus on what I need to do for 4 to 5 months, you know, the the blessings, or the rewards of me working hard, are kind of like, focusing and dial it in for these X amount of months, will naturally benefit you as well.
Mhm.
You just need to be patient. And it's not just that, as far as in terms of just um, relationship wise, but it's also as far as in terms of the people that surround me, because everybody has expectations for you. Doesn't matter who you are. Your wife may have expectations for you. Your parents may have expectations for you. Your employees, your employers or your fellow employees, things
Yeah.
of that nature. Like, they're always going to have expectations for you. But if you don't make the conscious decision to prioritize yourself above all else, it sucks to say, but in a lot of cases, you have no value to a lot of other people. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes you just have to face the reality. It can be cold, it can just be all right, but there are people that are out here relying on us. And if you're not
Mhm.
putting your best foot forward, then long term, you're only hindering yourself. So
Yeah.
I would say for sure you have to prioritize yourself above everything else.
Speak on that. Speak on that value thing a little bit more, because I've had the same. I've had the same, or one of the realizations I've had recently is that value proposition, where it's become really clear that if I don't feel like I'm providing value to anything, whether it's myself or my partner or my family or whatever it is, I just don't feel like I'm, you know, doing the right thing, doing enough, etc. So it makes me think like, okay, well, you have to do something more.
Mm.
Like what you're providing isn't valuable enough, or you're not providing any value right now. You need to do something. And I keep catching myself in moments of like, you know, am I doing the right thing? Did I mess up here? Etc. And it's probably come from the fact that trying to build something different for yourself that isn't what you originally had takes a lot. And
Mm.
so it comes with a lot of uncertainty. So you don't know, like, is what I'm doing actually providing any value to anybody? Or
Mm.
am I simply doing it, you know, for my own sake? Or, okay, I'm spending all my time doing this thing. That means I'm not spending enough time
Mm.
taking care of either relationships or responsibilities or whatever it is in this realm. Am I losing my value proposition there? How have you, or what have you thought about like a man's value proposition?
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously we know it as far as in terms of these social spaces, online, in person, things of that nature. That is very much the topic, that's trending these days. Red pill, whatever the case may be. You hear that word a lot, value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing that people they get caught up on this idea of value or what you bring to the table, so on and so forth. It's always taught, it's always spoken on from a place of a relationship standpoint, as far as
Mm-hmm.
in terms like what can you do to secure my loyalty, dedication, whatever the case may be, a variety of those things. But people often don't look at it outside of a relationship either. They think so much that, oh, value only means what I can do for you. Um, but you also have to have value on yourself as well. Like, I would say that one thing that being a CDL driver did teach me is that this box here, that's maybe 2 ounces or whatever the case may be, this is Propel, the Gatorade mix, whatever the case may
Mm-hmm.
be. Believe it or not, for somebody like me, that's essential. I'm a runner. I love going to the gym on a consistent basis. That Propel, that pre-workout, that mix or whatever the case may be, that's literally how I get my workout started. That sets forth the entire pacing as far as like, okay, how I'm going to work out, how dedicated I'm going to be. Sometimes I need a kickstart. So when you look at that and you start literally kind of watching like the chain reaction, the chain effect that that has as far as in terms of your day. Okay, I'm picking up that package from 7-Eleven. It's pre-workout or just some type of caffeine to get my day going. Okay, well, I'm about to go on a 17-hour day and unload 30,000 pounds to a Walmart, to Sam's Club, oil, perfume, things of that nature. All these things that I'm about to deliver to this one location probably is going to make this store about, what, maybe 4 or 5 grand once it's all sold, whatever the case may be. So when you kind of watch the chain effect, you have to take value in every little single thing that you do. Understand that it has a reaction somewhere. We've all seen, so to speak, kind of like I don't think it's the butterfly effect, but
Yeah.
it is literally like the rippling effect that you have in your day to day. So
Mm-hmm.
you're to bring that full circle, you have to put value literally in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't necessarily have to have this super big impact immediately, but understand that that one thing that you choose to do has an infinite amount of possibilities of effects that it's going to take upon you and the rest of the world. The value that you put on it is the work ethic and the integrity that you put behind it. I am going to get up and do my job and do the best that I possibly can. And if I do that, that will have a chain of effects that affects everybody else. So you have to take value in what you're doing first, meaning that you have to put your heart and soul, do the right thing when nobody's looking, which is integrity, and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. And essentially, that will set the pace for your entire day. So before we even talk about value as far as in terms on a big scale, you have to talk about the value that you put into your day-to-day work as well. Are you getting up and stretching? Are you taking a Celsius pack so that your allergies don't mess up later on in the day? Are you taking a shower? You know, are you brushing your teeth? A variety of things. Like you have to put your best foot forward. You have to value these small moments or these small choices for you to actually have bigger value in other places of your life. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it just really starts a lot of the small things on a day-to-day basis. And once you start doing that, you will notice that what did they say? The law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
definitely for sure. Like I don't care what anybody says, like hard work that's just naturally invites challenge in your life. You know, me and Al have the saying: "Greater the man, greater the challenge." Anything that you beat 10 years ago has no effect on you right now. It's
Yeah.
just not because you're going to be able to identify that. But what you don't know is that butt kicking that you got like about 15 days from tomorrow, whenever your car is going to break down, and then your
Mm-hmm.
job's going to mess up your check, and then your fiance is going to be, or your wife's going to be yelling at you over something that's
Mm-hmm.
not important. but you have to take value in those small things, like how are you handling that situation? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how's your approach to conflict? You know, a
Mm-hmm.
hardship. Like, are you one of those who's going to spaz out? Which you may, no problem. But the moment that everything kind of sits in and it finally just kind of explodes in front of your face, take a moment to just be like, okay, I'm being challenged. Now I could lose it, or I could vent this for about maybe 30 minutes or so while simultaneously thinking on what I can do to resolve these issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you can place value in everything that you do, and people love to look at the value of results, but they don't really pay attention to the value as far as in terms of how to formulate a plan or what your reaction is or how you're conducting yourself on the day-to-day basis. So I think before anything else, you have to do that.
So then what little pieces of value do you prioritize?
Pieces of value, definitely for sure, my integrity. Um, I would say that's probably the most important thing. Um, I will not compromise my soul or my integrity for just an effect of like just bad choices down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the most important thing. I can almost not know, I don't want to say it in such a bad way, but I can justify anything if I know that I'm moving with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, if I have to, okay, you know, space myself from these people, these are my closest friends. Hey guys, I can't be in this space with you. I can't. Oh, why? Well, this is not what it is. That's not cool. And I'm like, well, you guys' lives going exactly the way that you want it to. I'm not happy with the life that I'm living right now. Now,
Mm-hmm.
can I ask you, are you happy that I'm not happy? No, of course we want you to be happy. Okay. Well, then to be happy, I need to prioritize my own time. And I'm telling you this because I don't want to just fall off the face of the earth. I don't want to make up a lie. You know, I need you to understand that, hey, I'm going about this the right way by saying that I'm not happy where I'm at. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the right thing here. But to do the right thing, I must first move these distractions. And right now, how y'all are living it's very distracting for me. I need to dial it in and focus. So integrity is, I would say, is the little things for me, like in every direction: drinking, partying, money, relationships, um, just basic decision making. You know, some days I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm gonna just call in just for the sake of calling in, and I purposely get myself dressed and see, okay, can you get up out the door? Yeah, I can. Okay, that means that you can do this. Go to work, bro.
I
So
felt like doing that today. I'm not gonna lie. I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm just so burnt out. Just a little bit. I'm not even burnt out yet. I'm feeling like I'm about to get there. I was like, what if I just call it and take a day?
can you take it in?
And then I got and I, no, and then I did not. Since I work from home, I just put a 2 hour block on my work calendar saying I'm busy at this from this time to this time,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards I'll just go back online and just log on and keep working. Because I was like, can't take the day right now. It's weird. It's a weird feeling, but I know I like what you said about the integrity piece. I think what you said even more, I think a little bit ago about what you do when no one's watching, that's very important because I think it's very easy for us to justify anything to ourselves of like what we're doing isn't that big of a deal or it's not gonna come back and bite me or it's not gonna I'll be able to manage it or whatever it is. But sometimes you can't. And so that's where the that's where the make the right decisions when no one's watching
Yeah.
comes in.
Believe it or not,
Because
I learned that in ROTC. The
mhm,
what is it? The Air Force core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do.
mhm,
Like that, I didn't believe it then when they taught that in high school, but
yeah.
those things really did stick with me. Like they weren't lying. Like, and I try and apply that to the everyday lifestyle.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So then,
man.
what are you kind of looking forward to this year? You got any goals? So anything that you're trying to work on this year?
Um, get back in shape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 30 pounds. That'd be nice. I'm about, no, yeah, 30 pounds. I would love to cut down 20, be nice, 25 pounds for sure.
Mm,
Um, get get some type of job that allows me the space and the freedom to be able to dance. Because just I don't want to go back to what I was doing before when I was delivering because
mm-hmm.
I've done MMA, I've danced, whatever the case may be. I've played sports, and I can say wholeheartedly, I've never been more beat up in my life than I ever was in when I was working for McLean. Like
Mm,
injuries, ladders falling on my hands, falling off trucks and stuff like that, twisting my ankles, like just being burnt out.
yeah.
So the objective is to find something that I can that have some level of flexibility and consistent schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, just really kind of get back into the swing of as far as dance and competition and stuff like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the times are changing, and I think one of the biggest things that I was taught when it comes to stepping away from something is that you need to make sure that you go gracefully, um, not aggressively, because a lot of people don't sit down; they get sat down. In a lot of cases, I definitely feel like I got sat down, but I wasn't ready to go. So I needed to prioritize myself a little bit better and be like, okay, if this is really what you want to do, then you need to knock
Yeah.
out this first. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you've given it your all, you know that this is okay, this is where I'm supposed to stop.
Yeah.
Then just simply move on. So, and then hopefully start school in the fall. Hopefully.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. How are you looking about getting fitter? Are you still is running kind of like your core thing that you do and then everything else on top of that, or do you kind of just substitute in other things for running sometimes?
But yeah, no, running has always been my go to. Um, I love it because I know it's bad for you because literally all the experts say that, you know, it's not good for you, especially on the knees and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's something unique about putting your headphones on and just running. And then literally maybe 20, 30 minutes in, you're in a totally different place from where you were before.
Mm.
Um, I like that. I like being able to literally disconnect for a bit. So running is always going to be the go-to. Like I love it.
Yeah.
But trying to get back into MMA because there's no shape like fighting shape.
Yep.
Um, and obviously with crumping, there's a lot of jabs and stuff like that. So some boxing here, you know, with like maybe some grappling or whatever the case may be will help me as far as in terms of level changing things of that nature. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I need that. What's the word? I need that burst back, that
Yeah.
spring in the step. So I think MMA is the only thing that's going to be able to give it to me because I don't like being bulky and it affects being able to dance.
Yeah. No, I feel that every time I work out and I don't keep up with any sort of mobility aside like working out that doesn't provide mobility, I have to do extra mobility on top of it to keep myself limber. Otherwise, I just feel stiff, which currently I feel stiff regardless because I've been weightlifting more.
Are you still
But
doing the calisthenics?
no, I really stopped doing calisthenics once I hurt my wrist 2 years ago.
Mm,
Because I never got runner's high. I could never have tried on many occasions to try running and it just didn't work. So I just stuck to walking, podcast, and
mm,
then podcast while I walk. And I got climber's high though. I loved
mm,
climbing, but then I overdid it, messed up my wrist, was out of commission for like a year.
mm.
And so when I got back, like calisthenics just didn't feel the same because I think I was just so annoyed that I had to start back from where I was, like back when I started back in college, like 2016 levels of Arish strength
Wow.
versus 2020, like 2022 levels of Arish strength was completely different.
Mm,
And I think weightlifting just felt better in that regard. Just felt like something I could do that wasn't gonna tax me like emotionally.
right.
There are times when I want to get back into it, and I can somewhat get my muscle up in. I could probably hit like I don't think I can hit any other full techniques again. Everything was lost because everything revolves on mobility and then the strength after that. So
Can you?
um
But you can just still do regular pull ups and chin ups.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that stuff. What that stuff? It took me like a couple of weeks just to get back once my wrist was good.
Hmm.
But after that, like I can still do the basic stuff. It's kind of the more advanced techniques that I haven't even attempted
Yeah.
because I just know that I just kind of I can already feel that I'm gonna try and get this full front lever and it's not gonna work.
Gotcha.
But also annoyingly enough, the gyms up here. Well, I used to use an Anytime Fitness gym, and while it's decent, they don't have any like bar setups under which I can do like a proper muscle up without fearing of hitting any other machine or like the
Mhm.
attachment to the bar or any front lever or any like hanging. Like I can't move on a bar
Right.
in any way. And I switched to a LA Fitness recently a couple of weeks ago, and they don't even have an open like I don't even have like an open setup. Everything is just machines. So in that respect, it's like it's already I'm not keeping up with it, but I do have my own gear that I use. So like I do have things at home that I could hang or use like parallettes and stuff to work on.
Do
It's
they
just
have
more so
a
doing
Do they
it.
have a Crunch Fitness up there?
They do.
I
It's like 20 minutes away though, but they do.
I definitely recommend that because I'm not gonna lie, I was a plan. Obviously, I'm a runner, so any
Mm-hmm.
gym pretty much works good for me. But
Yeah.
Planet Fitness, I always just like their cleanliness of it. But I went with instinct to Crunch Fitness one time.
Mm-hmm.
Completely ruined my experience with Planet Fitness now. Like
Damn.
going into Planet Fitness now is weird. It's just like, why do y'all have 40 treadmills, 20 of them are not on. You got
Yep.
15 cycles, and then it's just like it's just nothing but cardio, you know. And I get it.
Yep.
It's the neighborhood gym, it's the family gym and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Crunch Fitness is great, man. Like they've got a lot of stuff. Like I like the space of that because obviously they have the fit room, whatever the case may be, which is
Yeah.
it looks like it's probably about like 50 yards. No, it's probably about like, yeah, it's probably 50 yards. Thinking about it, it's 50 yards. But it just has like a variety of machines and stuff like that. It has like ropes, you know, or the combat ropes. It has like the tires and stuff like that, which I love, is familiar.
Mm-hmm.
When we got some boxing gloves and stuff like that. So I'm definitely, you know, getting back, you know, hitting the bags and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and then they have, you know, the Olympic setup as far as like weights, things of that nature. Like they have the regular benches and free weights, things of that nature. Like it's great,
Mm-hmm.
man. So I would definitely recommend that.
It's funny you say that because I've always done Anytime Fitness, and so I never heard anybody talk about any of these other gyms, specifically Crunch. Because when we first drove by, because the Crunch is like next to like the Aldi and Walmart where we go, and I was telling Ayushi like, who the fuck goes to Crunch? Why are these gyms so big? How do they have the revenue and the funds to keep a gym this big alive? I haven't heard anybody ever vouch for Crunch.
Mm.
Um, but it's funny you say that. I might depending on how LA goes, I might check out Crunch too because I think I'm back and forth on it. I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe at some point when I get to like a base level of like weight with weightlifting,
Mm-hmm.
like first like putting on weight and then what I'm lifting, I think I'll probably feel like okay, let's just go back to calisthenics at this point. And I kind of want to get back into climbing, but every time I go back, I get I get semblances of like the same ache that I used to have before I tore my wrist, and
Mm-hmm.
so I miss that. I do miss climbing, but maybe we'll go back to it at some point. I
I
also have
could
to ask you
I
why
could
the fuck
definitely
do you
see
run with
you
a weight
soon.
vest on?
Russ.
Finish your statement, but then answer mine.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, bro, I could definitely see you as a climber, bro. And much respect to you, bro. Like, because it is funny because I took your advice because when I went to the gym with Jaden, you know me, I gave up on pull-ups. Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. Like but she's interested in it, and I told her I
Mm-hmm.
was like, the misconception is that it's arms when it's
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to obviously activate and utilize like your traps and stuff like that first before anything
Yep.
else. And even following the exercise you gave me is just like, okay, first you got to hang there and just activate. You know, even well,
Mm-hmm.
you got to get past the hang for 30 seconds first,
Yep.
before you even do that, because you obviously got to work on grip strength as well. And we were just kind of going back and forth, and I was like, yeah, well, Arish just telling me XYZ, and I'm like, I'm glad I listened to him. I was like, I appreciate
Yeah.
that, because I really did. I was one of those ones. I was like, man, I just got to get big arms and I'll get this. And I'm like, I'm hitting the weights, I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm like, it's not getting any easier.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I remember when I first tried it years ago, you had to do the inverted, bar pulls, like just get under a
Yep.
regular, Smith machine and just try and pull
Yep.
yourself up. And I
Yep.
tried to do 10 of them, and I'm like, oh man, this is kind of difficult. And I remember I
Yep.
looked online, and they were just saying like, yeah, if you're struggling with that, then you need to work on that for a while. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you at least have, the lower half of your body at rest, pulling, your upper body up at an
Yep.
angle. Now trying to pull yourself direct, straight up towards gravity, not
Yep.
gonna work. So I appreciate you, brother, and the advice
Yeah.
that you gave me, because I'm passing
Yeah.
that knowledge on.
No, I love that because that's kind of what I'm struggling with now. I can't get past doing maybe like 6, maybe 8 pull-ups like on the first set. I can't do like consistently more than 6 to 8 at a time.
Mm,
Um, which, you know, sounds fine, but my goal is to be able to do like 10 plus in one go.
mm,
And so it's frustrating because I think like there's a gap in my strength somewhere. Like there's something back there that one is stronger than the other and it's just not working like in alignment. And I think it's my upper as opposed to my lower back.
mm,
I think it's my upper. But dude, I have to share this. I also got this like 3-month training thing at LA Fitness just to like get me through this busy season. Cause I know if I didn't have the monetary obligation of going to go train
mm.
with a trainer, I would just not train during busy season because I would just be so burnt out.
I hear
Um,
you.
so we do like a full body session like once a week, and then I train on my own. But he showed me a lot more machines that I've never used in my life, like V squat, hack squat. Using a lot more different machines for different things. But he showed me this like wide grip bent over like bar row on the
Mm,
Smith machine. So
yeah,
because it's wide grip and not regular grip, it
mm,
focuses a lot more on the upper back
yeah.
than like the middle back doing your lats. It focuses a lot more on the traps, like rear delts, like upper back and the rhomboids and stuff. Ooh, that shit feels so good. It feels so good. Every time I go for my full body days, I try and get that exercise in at least. That and probably like the B or the hack squat at this point, but that feels so good. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. You heard it here first. Not sponsored ever,
Right.
but I I love that workout. But anyway, let's go back to the question at hand. Why the fuck do you run with a weight vest on? Do you hate yourself?
I love it, dude. Like I'm not necessarily a I think I'm just like every other man. Like I love the idea of fighting through pain, at a
Yep.
certain capacity, and usually there's very often it's a weight vest, but it's majority of the time it's a sauna suit.
Yep. I've seen
So
that too.
so the weighted one is I'll go short distances and stuff like that, which they talk about all the time. That's actually really bad, for your knees and stuff like that. You should not be running with
Mm-hmm.
weights and stuff like that. But every now and then, I would do that as far as in terms, because what was it? I learned this in MMA. There's nothing that's going to push harder against you than another person. It doesn't
Yep.
matter how much weight, that you can lift. You can lift 600 pounds casually, but it's not going to be as difficult as another person pushing against you that's the same size. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially what in MMA and stuff like that, we would work out, whatever the case may be, and then we would pick up, these um, dummy bags, or pretty much what the case may be. I
Yeah.
think some of them were like 80 or 90 pounds. I think the heaviest one was like 120. It's a really big one.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we would work out, I mean, we would pick these bags up and he would make us just kind of like walk in a circle. You're
Yeah.
just basically just carrying just dead weight the entire time. And
Mm-hmm.
it does literally symbolize, like, or not symbolize, but what it does is it kind of helps you get accustomed to, being able to constantly just burn the entire time while also maintaining grip strength, core strength, because you are literally doing this and you're
Yep.
like walking around a circle and he's like faster, 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 faster. So you can't
Yep.
just like slump your way through it, but you literally have to keep a tight core and then like carry this weight like around in circles and stuff like that. So I love that idea of just like, all right, after cardio, I'm working on, so to speak, weight training or body weight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. Like, I truly, truly enjoy that because think about it. Like when you're burnt out, what do people do? Oh, they collapse, they fall to the ground, whatever the case may be. Okay, I'm essentially getting, I would say, a couple of, a few steps ahead of you because, like, okay, when I burn out, my coach tells me to go pick up this body weight bag and carry it around. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
have an extra, 2 or 3 rounds on you, whatever the case may be, even if that's dance or maybe another 5 or 10 minutes in regards to stamina and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'll take any advantage I can get. But the sauna
Yeah.
suit, man, oh man, I don't. I'm one of those people to where I didn't work out if I don't sweat a lot. I
Mm.
don't care if my shirt doesn't have the salt ring around it. I didn't work out.
Bro, I can't sweat.
What?
I kid you not. I don't know what's happened. This is something I found out in college where when I'm gym training,
Mm-hmm.
especially weightlifting, I don't sweat at all. And maybe if I mix in like calisthenics and body weight, I sweat a little bit. The only time I really start like sweating is dancing. Even in climbing, sometimes I would sweat, sometimes I wouldn't. So it's like I don't know what it is about. And I've seen people who like they lift even like the most moderate weight, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
not super heavy, they're still sweating. Like people sweat more than others.
Yeah.
I know I sweat a lot
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Yeah.
So I know that I can't. I just for some reason when I'm training, no sweat. And so I had to condition myself to like be okay with that because
Mm-hmm.
I'm also the same way of like you're not sweating. Are you even working hard enough?
Mm-hmm.
Are you actually doing anything right now because you're not sweating? You're not pant. Oh, sometimes like you get out of breath, but like you're not sweating. You're not working hard enough. What is going on? And so even in the first time I experienced this was back in college where I did a whole like workout routine, didn't sweat, went into the back room, danced for 5 minutes, and I was dripping with sweat. Um, and so I don't know what it is. Even back when when I was in Dallas the couple of weeks ago in February, and I just set up a session the day before I left with the homies, and I was sweating during
Yeah.
that time, not profusely because we were like going back and forth in rounds, but like I could tell that I was actually building heat versus
Mm-hmm.
just training. I could just can't sweat, and it kind of annoys me because I'm like I feel like I would feel better if I sweat. It's like a similar cathartic relief of like crying sometimes. Like I feel like I would
Mm-hmm.
feel better if I could get shit out of my body. Which is why I also tried to supplement with the sauna, which this LA Fitness does have a sauna, so I need to go start using it again. Because otherwise, my workouts don't cause me to sweat at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
crazy.
yeah, some people, perforate differently, man. I always tell people then maybe you're just not doing the right things because there's not a single
Mm-hmm.
man that I've ever met in the world that hasn't started sweating either through um, some type of like combat training,
Mm-hmm.
MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever, take your pick,
Mm-hmm.
yoga, and Pilates. Those three
Fair.
things, I've never ever seen somebody be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not sweating." Okay, it's one of the three, and usually, believe it
Mm-hmm.
or not, yoga is the one that usually gets a lot of men more than anything else. Because again, we're not used to that. Like we're used to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of compound exercises and stuff like that, or fast movement, cardio, things of that nature. Like
Mm-hmm.
you get in there and they tell you to do upward dog or or what do they call it, a warrior one to warrior two to
Yep.
three, stuff like that, or yeah, you'll be surprised like how much you start sweating. So
Mm-hmm.
even the
I do
Pilates.
wonder if it's a mental thing of like having to use your mind and body because sometimes you can just go in there and lift and not even think about it.
Yeah.
Like your brain is just disengaged, right? So you're just physically moving, but you're not mentally engaged. Versus, I think that's why for things like dance, climbing, etc., if like my mind is also engaged in what I'm doing, not engaged in something else,
Mhm.
I wonder if that has something to do with sweating. Because yeah, for like yoga and Pilates and shit, you have to pay attention. You can't just like be somewhere else and then hit a fucking warrior one and then warrior two. Like you just can't. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and also you go off balance at trying to get you to hit a tree pose. It's fucking insane.
I do know that it has a lot to do with what you eat. Like
True.
that's one of the biggest components that I learned a couple years back. And it's just like, oh, why do I
Mm-hmm.
sweat so much? It's like you probably either ingest a lot of sodium or a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I drink a lot of water. I just drinking Gator. Well, take that back because I'm Team Powerade. Um, hopefully sponsored one day. But no, I love drinking Gatorade and water, and obviously I'll get my pre-workout
Mm-hmm.
um, and just go crazy and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think it is definitely ingrained as far as like your day-to-day and stuff, because some stuff's just going to come out a lot easier.
Yeah. Pause. Awesome. Love that. Love that. So let's pivot a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go a bit further away from life and further focus into what are your thoughts on the dance community as they are right now?
uh, dance as a whole, or are we talking about the South or Texas or what?
Mm,
That's a broad question.
yeah. So give me your thoughts on the Dallas dance scene in general,
Mhm.
and then give me your thoughts on the Krump scene
Okay.
in general.
Uh, well, the Dallas dance scene is obviously we're picking up momentum again, which I'm extremely grateful because we've had a lot of people in the last couple of years really step into positions of leadership and teaching, which
Mm-hmm.
is great. Obviously, T Soup being one of the he's not new or anything like that, but I would definitely say he's one of this generation's leaders without a doubt. Haley Summers has stepped up a tremendous amount. Rishi, obviously, with Oda Dallas, that's going to be happening this weekend.
Yep.
Um, you know, Wonder, Jason, and Shadows, really taking the time to resurrect, the popping scene out here because for a while it was very, very much dead,
Mm-hmm.
despite what people like to say. Um,
Yeah.
Canvas, um, Pun, even them stepping into Tress, those guys stepping into DJing and stuff like that. Not to anything against Leo J or anything like that, but um, it's just good to see dancers at. Oh, shouts out to Chris Brown as well with the Evolve
Mm-hmm.
session. Can't knock him. Really happy that he's doing that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just really happy to see, those three, Tress, Canvas, and Al, stepping into positions as far as being DJs because again, you don't always have to dance forever to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
And I think more dancers that we have that to step in those very important administrative positions, I guess maybe you could
Mm-hmm.
say, the
Mm-hmm.
better that we are going to have an authentic representation of the music that needs to be played at jams.
Yeah.
So I just see a lot of really good movement. And Al's teaching Crump again. It's great.
Yep.
So I think as far as Dallas, we're doing a great job as far as like really, I said it before, resurrecting the dance scene because for the pandemic really hurt us. Like
Mm-hmm.
as during, in my personal opinion, that was kind of like peak Dallas, as
Yeah.
far as just this generation as a whole dancing. Once the pandemic hit, a lot of people literally reevaluated themselves and realized they didn't want to be in dance as much as they thought they did.
Yeah, that was me. I was one of them.
It's all good, bro. Again, but what did we say earlier? You have to take a time to be like, okay, is this beneficial to my long term goals?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So I think it's going well now for sure. The only real thing that I'm starting to see, which I'm grateful for, I definitely want to see a lot more competitive nature from Dallas. I know we can't really do anything about it, but the other regions, as far as obviously the East and the West, you know, they're luckily they're going to have a big scene because they're the originators, even the Midwest, with
Mm-hmm.
housing, Chicago footwork, things of that nature. Um, the West, Midwest, and the East Coast and stuff like that, they're birthplaces of a lot of dances and stuff like that. And, the Southern
Mm-hmm.
region, we've always kind of, in terms of street style dance, make that
Yeah.
specific that distinction. Um, but they're always going to be able to say like, oh, we're the birthplace, like this is where it started, so on and so forth. So they're always going to have the root of what it's supposed to be. We're always trying to learn these things, you know, and create our own
Mm-hmm.
scene. And that doesn't have to be a negative or anything like that. But I think it's important for us to remember the roots of where stuff comes from, you know, not to get too caught up on social media and trying to, you know, prioritize the craft and the culture, not the views on social
Mm-hmm.
media, because your videos will fade, and you can't pass that legacy on to the next generation. But you can pass on culture, tradition, and
Yeah.
what it's like to be a part of a community. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I like that.
Now the crump scene. Oh, well, crump scene. We're trying our best. Crump, and it's funny because somebody just put up. Crump is only 23 years old.
That's it.
Only 23 years old.
Damn, it's only the
So
third decade of it.
right. So it's very much a situation to where like we're part of
Y'all,
the
y'all Gen X.
man.
If we're being real out here, if we're being real out here, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, not Gen X, Gen Alpha. Y'all, y'all part of this iPad generation.
Right. You know, like we're literally the building blocks because
Mm-hmm.
even with you know, even breaking, I think they said in the late 80s or kind of mid 80s to the early 90s, like breaking kind of went underground for a bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then it, you know, it resurfaced, I think like kind of like 92, 93, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think Crump is getting ready to go through that because literally the veterans and OGs, Todd Eyes is turning 40 this year.
Yeah.
So that means the veterans and OGs like Solo, Crush Rapture, and them, like I'll be 36 in like 7 or 8 days, whatever the case may be. Um, but those guys are the same age as me. And if you think about it, if you compare that to like Pete, you know, and stuff like that, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, people that, you know, Swift and stuff like these cats are in their 50s. I think Pop and Pete's in his 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Like these
Yeah.
guys have had 40 years on us, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's literally like we are very much babies in this. So anything that's new, and once people can't be on the ground doing moving how they want to, it becomes a political race,
Yeah.
about which we're kind of seeing now in general. Everybody's trying to put themselves in positions of influence and power to solidify their legacy. So I would definitely say that Crump is at that point to where it's not just, I tell people, it's not just a bunch of rambunctious kids from the neighborhood just enjoying Crump anymore. It's like, okay, we all have families, jobs, and responsibilities. And unfortunately, Crump is not at that point like with breaking and popping to where they're getting sponsorships and big
Yeah.
events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're having to really learn, and teach this generation about the integrity, of the culture of Crump, not
Mm-hmm.
the political side of it. It's okay to remember history, but that doesn't mean that we have to repeat it.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. That's actually a very interesting assessment. I would not have, well, I don't have the background knowledge to even make that same assessment. So I think drawing the parallel between current, like the trajectory of Crump's history with the history of other styles that have already been in the game. Um, Interesting. I wish I was a history buff. I don't like history like that. But the insights out of it are great. Who's the best Krumper in Dallas, Sylar?
Best Krumper in Dallas. I'm gonna go with Pun.
Really?
Uh, yeah. So I think there's a lot of people that I could throw in there for sure. Um, God rest his soul. At the time, I probably would have said Disco.
Mm-hmm.
But since his passing, rest in peace, Disco.
Rest in peace, Disco.
You could potentially put Lady C4 in the conversation. You could. Antics is not active, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
He has long since, you know, focused on family, which him and Disco for the longest time were this what we call the spearheads, of
Yeah.
the region. And it means they were the tip of the tip. Pause. Um, but they're very much the people who were all over the place representing for the southern region. But
Yeah.
you know, it keep circling back to what I said, back then, early in our conversation, like Antics wanted to be a family man,
Mm-hmm.
and he's probably been off the radar for about 4 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily knock a skill or anything like that, but yeah. So I would say, as far as in terms of skill and application, for sure, I'm gonna go with punt for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you able to be like active in the scene right now, or is it just kind of like you kind of just like watch from the sides?
I'm active in the Crump scene, for sure. I'm hosting the New Era sessions every other week. And
Mm-hmm.
Al has since October, August last year with the new HQ studio. He's been
Mm-hmm.
teaching Crump there, so it's a good system that we have. He teaches every Tuesday, and then every other week we have a session, because I'm
Yeah.
I'm grateful. We have a lot of um, new cats that are in the Crump scene, and for the first time, this in the last 10 years, this is the first, I would say, 8 or 9 Crumpers that have come to the Crump scene, and it's without drama.
Yeah.
Because again, because people are getting older, they cannot, even the negative people, or the people that are just, they're not good for the movement. They don't have the time, money, or resources to dedicate every single moment to come into Crump and disrupt stuff, or just be a knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just kind of off. And so now Al's teaching classes and stuff. So we're getting, kids, ladies that are, women that are coming in. And obviously that's a really big point that we're trying to, of course, rectify as well. I don't say
Yeah.
rectify, but you want to make sure that your community is safe. That's all there is
Yeah.
to it. So, and honestly, historically, the Crump movement as a whole has not had the best track record with that. So, me having a daughter, my dedication to that is heightened by 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's definitely difficult to be in the scene, but my responsibility is to, right now, is to kind of be in the background, dance when I can, speak to people directly, and again, focus on the community aspect of it, not just simply the
Mm-hmm.
culture, because we can dance all day, every day, but
Mm-hmm.
culture is what brings people, community is what keeps them.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with it right now. So that's what I'm focusing on until I'm able to get back into on the in the field like the way I want to.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I wanted to ask because I think you're one of the few people in my like direct circle that I can ask this. How has having a child changed kind of your outlook on life?
Um, to be quite frank, despite what most people may believe, it hasn't changed that much. For
Mm,
anybody who knows me, majority of my students or former family members, I've always had predominantly women as my students.
mm,
And it is just right off the bat, it obviously showed a lot of the challenges that women face that men don't have to worry about.
mm,
Obviously, the obvious things, being overly sexualized and stuff like that, being harassed, even in some cases being, in fear for their lives or whatever the case may be, being intimidated, having to take a different approach to
mm,
dance. Obviously, men, we prefer to do things fast and powerful and, quickly and stuff like that. And we're rambunctious and we're quick to learn things.
mm,
Um, and then just, go off and try and do our own things. My personal experience, women are a lot more patient. They're a lot more respectable. And if you show them a certain level of respect, they don't challenge you, maybe how like some men will.
mm,
Women are much more inclined to kind of like, okay, they recognize, the knowledge or the authority, whatever the relationship is, and they treat it as such.
mm,
So when it came to having my daughter for the first time, it was definitely, the first time, okay, this is how you swaddle, you know, changing diapers and stuff like that. And just being a protector in every
mm,
sense of the way. So it really wasn't that much of a difference, to be honest with you. And now Trinity's just getting to the point to where she's not. she's been talking, but now it's kind of like, okay, now she's actually having like full blown conversation with me. She's 5, she'll
Yeah.
be 6 on the 4th. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it is very much of kind of like, all right, now I need to make sure that I'm not just telling you, but I'm also showing you.
Yeah.
So, um, if that's where she decides to go and stuff like that, when it comes to, I used to tell my partner this, and I tell other young men and women, when it comes to raising a child, um, I need to I need to show my daughter how to my the mother is supposed to teach your daughter how to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to help with teaching my daughter how to be a lady,
Mm-hmm.
because how my partner conducts herself is how I want my daughter to conduct herself. And then a gentleman needs to show, how they respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
Same way as far as, okay, when it comes to having a son, I'm going to teach my son how to be a man. Okay. His mother needs to show him how to be a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I'm going to show and see things of that nature, but of course, being a gentleman or being a lady is often in response to the opposing sex. You can,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, me and you having a conversation, I don't need to be a gentleman. We can
Yeah.
just shoot the shit and say whatever the hell we want to.
Yeah.
Okay. If you drop somebody, look at you, pick that shit up, bro. Like,
Yeah.
stop being a butt. Like, but when a lady drops something, okay, I need to be courteous and, oh, here you go, man, so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. My son needs to
Yeah.
see that from me. And then my daughter needs to see the response that a man would
Mm-hmm.
have to that situation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that different, man. It's just time is really the only thing that
Yeah.
is the only challenge. But as far as raising, it's not that difficult.
Nice. I like that. Love that. Happy early birthday to both of y'all.
Thank you.
If we don't chat on those specific days, what so something you said way earlier, and this has been playing on my mind this entire time when you said, when I was asking you about the weight vest, and you said men like working through adversity, they like pain.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I thought of was, fuck that. We all watched Dragon Ball Z growing up, and that's why we like putting shit on and then running. That's why. That is 100% reason why. Because I kid you not, that's the only reason why I have ankle weights. That's the only reason why I have a fucking weight vest that I don't haven't touched for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because of anime, and that's what I wanted to finish this podcast off with, is talking to you about if you've been watching or listening to anything recently, because I know you put something about solo leveling ups on your story the other day, and I agree with you. It is just another Chimera Ant arc, and it's not even good. It's not even as good as the OG. But you've been watching or listening or reading anything interesting?
Haven't had a chance to read anything in a while, to be honest. But obviously, aside from anime and paying close attention to politics these
Mm-hmm.
days, we're in such a dangerous state in this country. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that's a conversation in itself, obviously. But honestly, I've just been really I can't lie and say that I'm listening to one specific thing, because majority of my
Yeah.
time is working behind a truck, so I don't really get time to like not do
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I do listen to, watch those Jubilee videos, stuff like that. One conservative versus
Yeah.
three or 25 Democrats or whatever the case may be. All those things, just getting a different
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Um, I am slowly learning that surprisingly I have some conservative values as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very much a situation to where it's like, all right, anything that I'm watching in this day and age is very much to make sure that I'm prepared to navigate the world of tomorrow. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if you're not doing that, then you're willfully putting yourself behind. Like, you're
Yeah.
shackling yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I respectfully, I don't want to be like some of these people that we have in office or in the Senate and stuff like that that are still the boomers,
Mm-hmm.
who literally have no way to connect with, the millennials or Gen Z or whatever the case is. Like, they don't care. The only thing they know is suffer, work hard, get it.
Oil.
Oil, right? Big
Yeah,
money.
exactly.
You know,
Um,
that's pretty much it. So it's just
Interesting.
I'm trying to make sure that health, finances,
Mm-hmm.
definitely politics, because yeah, I mean, even having a daughter and stuff like that, now that they're, they outlawed abortion and stuff like that. And it's just kind of
Yep.
like, it's very scary. And I was having a conversation with some of the ladies, and even, having doing the back and forth with Instinct. And she was like, you really have to like think about this. She's like, it's very, and this is more of my understanding as far as like, what it's like to be a woman, or like their perspective is like, think about it. How would you like it, if a bunch of men in Senate basically
Mm-hmm.
passed the law basically saying what you can and can't do with your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that would be terrifying. And obviously
Yeah.
there's some opinions about it as far as like people believe about abortion and things of that nature. And do I think that it's something that you should just always just like, oh, because you're being irresponsible? No. But we understand that there are some certain situations that we're like, okay, you may have to go get that.
Yep.
And in a lot of ways it is kind of weird that majority of the people voting on this are men.
Mm-hmm.
The same way it may be weird as far as in terms of having a group of white people talk
Mm-hmm.
about slavery or discrimination or
Mm-hmm.
prejudice and stuff like that. It's like, okay, first we
Mm-hmm.
need representation before we start having this conversation.
Yeah.
And also to make sure that we have said like-minded folks on the other side of the aisle. Okay, even if I'm not a woman, I do want to be able to make sure that I can properly articulate the argument that some of these women are having if they're
Mm-hmm.
not in these conversations. And it's, you don't necessarily have to agree, but you need to be willing to come to the table and have a serious conversation about, representation, privilege, authority,
Mm-hmm.
um, health, things of that nature as well. And I don't know if it necessarily correlates, but I remember having this. Haley Summers told me something interesting a long time ago. And she was just like, she said, yeah, sometimes men are scary. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's nothing like against you or anything. And she's like, y'all just, you have to understand how scary you are. And in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately just went to what you're looking at on the outside. As I'm six
Yeah.
foot five, black guy, locks. I get it. I can be pretty intimidating. She's like, yeah, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. She's like, you need to think about this for a second. She's like, at any point in time, if, and Haley, little bit, little Pokemon, adorable,
Mm-hmm.
small. Sorry, Haley, I love you. But she was just like, at any point in time, if a man tried to assault me or whatever the case may be, there's almost nothing that I can do about it. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
guys are so much stronger on a physical level that it's terrifying sometimes. Even sometimes hugging y'all, she's just like, you have a moment to where it's just like, oh my gosh, if he ever tried to attack me, I could never do anything, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So it is very much a situation to where it's like men kind of go through life not fearing physical things because we are the stronger of the
Yeah.
two,
And we're more
So
physical with each other, so you just assume that, like, I can withstand the level of physicality, so can these other people.
exactly. So it's definitely those situations where yeah, we kind of walk through life with a little bit of ignorance of how women feel as well. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've seen see these videos and stuff like that where it just puts like average male 145 pounds versus female bodybuilder, an Olympic
Yeah.
bodybuilder, and they're like doing having like a tug of war and wrestling and stuff like
I
that. And
think I
this
just
guy's
saw that.
and the dude's just like manheld, just like holding her down. Just he's just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
it's like yo, this is an Olympic
Mm-hmm.
an Olympic champion, like who's been doing weight training or whatever the case may be, or powerlifting and stuff like that. And again, like I said before, you can lift all the weight that you want to, but there's no greater challenge than somebody else pushing against you.
Yeah.
So it's just you have to make that you have to have that level of humility and understanding. You
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily have to always align with somebody else's values or their opinions and stuff like that. But the most
Yeah.
important part is to understand that your perspective is not the only one. You're
Mm-hmm.
not the only person walking this in this world and stuff like that. We
Mm-hmm.
come in different shapes, sizes, beliefs, religions, political views, parts of the country, even with some physical and spiritual or mental hindrances, you
Yeah.
know. So it just seeing this and paying attention to what's kind of going on in the world, I think the moment that we lose, our humanity and we stop moving with humility and respect for each other, that's the moment that I really feel like the people on the other side of that are going to start kind of winning
Mm-hmm.
this war for the soul of America.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's why this was the first kind of political season that I was tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the other ones, like even the last one, the last one 4 years ago, I don't remember if I did or didn't, but we more or less got our green card in the past like half decade or whatever, right? So I was never like a U.S. citizen. I think I got my citizenship like 22, 21, something like that, whatever it is.
Yeah, you out
So
here riding dirty, bro.
yeah.
So that explains it now. Every time the police came into that second floor of Founders Building, you'd be just, all
It
right,
was me.
Tom.
No, it was the guy who actually went to the college, not anybody else who was there.
Hilarious.
Uh, but the what? So, that combined with now, I got married in May. We both moved up here. We're on our own. There is still the safety net of our parents, but there's a very loose safety net. So it's really just, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to plan everything, do everything, all that stuff. All the responsibilities are on you, or when you're living isolated. And so it was much more interesting to listen to these things because, okay, now I know how it could affect me. I'm in the workforce now. I am living on my own now. So I'm and even before, but like more so now, like buying everything for myself, looking for things for myself, how insurance, like all these things, like all that stuff is now going to affect me because there's no barrier of a parent there, which a lot of, I think, people, especially in their 20s or just like in general, like when you grow up sheltered, you don't get to experience these things. And they're all very beneficial experiences. And so this was the first season that I was really tuned in. And, to the same thing you were saying, I also found myself listening to not a lot of like political commentary videos, but like if a video was on and they were talking about like politics or like what somebody said or what somebody came out with or whatever, I would actually sit and listen or read. Because I was like, okay, I have the experience and the capacity to actually understand how this works and is going to affect me versus previously I didn't. Those like 1 versus 25 videos, I've tried to like watch clips of them, but I feel like sometimes there's just so much like aggressiveness in how they're debating to where I'm like, this doesn't sound like you're trying to talk to somebody. It just sounds like you're just trying to put them down. And obviously like trying to find the flaw and trying to refute and trying to like do all that stuff, that I was like, I just want to go listen to somebody actually like talk, like give detailed points. Nobody's yelling at each other. It's a conversation. And to your point, the main reason is I want to understand myself. I want to be able to take what they're saying and ask myself the same questions and see, how do I feel about it? What are my thoughts based on this question, or what are my thoughts based on this insight? And then, develop myself further, because the world is changing. And so in order to change with it, if I'm working a desk job 8 hours a day, I'm not really in the world. I'm not really experiencing all these things. So I need to find some way to experience what the world is going through that's not in my remote location. And I work remote also, so I didn't go into an office right now. So I don't know we haven't talked in a minute, but I may have mentioned this to you in the past, but I started therapy back in November. I promote therapy to everybody. Just get it's like a gym membership. Just go.
Agreed.
And one of the recent homeworks that the therapist has asked me to do is stop listening to these like podcasts I listen to. Because I overconsume content regardless. I understand that about myself. But in order to balance it out, I have podcasts, informational 20, 30-minute videos, entertainment videos, streams. And that's just all like media. Of course I read and stuff, but
Mine just jacked
Um,
up. Mine is nothing but stupid videos that would get me canceled. Like it's like
see,
80.
I've been I think some as those come across my screen, I've noticed myself just like laughing at them more. Because like I think in the past I've been like, oh shoot, what is this? You can't say that, you can't do this, whatever it is. And now it's like, that's funny. That's
Mhm.
funny. Because it's you just kind of have to enjoy and or like just enjoy the humor of things versus reading so much into them sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, I just recently watched a side note before I continue my point. I just recently watched what's Homeboy's name? Andrew Schultz's new Netflix special, Life.
Mhm.
I was watching it with Ayushi, and if anybody knows Andrew Schultz, he's very crass, can be very polarizing, can say a lot of dumb shit that can get anybody canceled.
Right.
And both of us were just laughing the entire time
Yeah.
because we just kind of understand this is just a moment to laugh. It is not a, we're not trying to have a commentary on this. We're not trying to like argue about this. It's just, we're just laughing. Jokes
Yeah.
are being made at everybody's expense. No one's safe kind of thing, which I like. Um, but going back to the other thing, yeah, my therapist said, yeah, you can't listen to these anymore for the time being. Or she said, don't do it. And I said, okay,
Mhm.
as opposed to saying, no, I can't. I have to keep listening to them. So, but what I've noticed is I don't get to have the same thoughts anymore,
Mhm.
because that was the way to supplement certain insights, thought processes, questions, etc. When my day to day doesn't provide me that. Like
Mhm.
working as a tax accountant, I look at numbers all day. I don't see these things. I don't listen to these things. The gaming stuff and everything else is purely entertainment. So what do I do for my own like thoughts and my own rumination and my own like thinking?
Mhm.
Um, but I think there's a there's like a balance that maybe I had shifted when I listened to one half of a video of a doctor and Chris Williamson, shout out Chris Williamson, love his podcast,
Mhm.
talking to Dr. Rhonda Patrick about BPA and BPSS, microplastics, etc.
Mhm.
And I told my therapist, I was like, listen, I listened to half of that, I didn't even finish it, but I completely understand what's being said. I threw away all the plastic Tupperware in our house. I was like, I'm not dealing with this. We have glass for a reason. I already don't warm up things in plastic anyways.
All right.
But I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. The minute she said it can affect sperm and motility and such, I was like, I'm not dealing with this. If I want to have a kid in the future, I'm not even going to attempt to risk it. It could never affect me, and that's fine. But at the rate of like birth deformities happening and it being affected from like the sperm side as opposed to the egg side, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not doing it. And then I
Right.
told her that, and she said, I think you should stop listening to them. I said, okay, listen, that was an isolated incident in the first place. I'm not usually this paranoid ever.
Hey,
Uh,
some of those videos, man, they're a little bit of a wake up call. Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like, and I tell people this all the time, and with respect, I think that you definitely for sure have to have, and this may sound crazy, but I think that you either have to have a really good balance as far as your interaction about the information that you take in the real world versus where you
Mm-hmm.
get on social media, um,
Mm-hmm.
or any direct forms of, information, whether that be a newspaper outlet, whatever the case may be, news bulletin, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or you have to be extremely traumatized,
Yeah.
from what you've experienced in the real world to have that balance. Because
Yeah.
everybody tells me that, oh, you're on your phone too much. How can you watch these videos? Don't let it sit in your mind. Don't let it sit in your mind. I'm like, well, I've already experienced some pretty extreme things. I know
Mm-hmm.
when it just, I don't even have to think about it. It's like, okay, I know that I should listen to this person with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully this doesn't get you canceled. But
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact of whether people want to admit it or not, there were a lot of people who hated Andrew Tate,
Mm-hmm.
hated him, hated Kevin Samuels as
Mm-hmm.
well. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the Fresh and Fit, I ain't gonna lie, Fresh and Fit out of all of them, they say some crazy stuff, bro. They
No, those clips were fucking insane.
they
It,
say some crazy
yeah.
stuff. But it's still, if you really actually pay attention to what they're saying, I can't remember what this guy's name, but he was former military, had his own ranch and
Mm-hmm.
dudes. What he's like, do I think this guy's kind of a tool? Yeah. But do I think he's wrong? No, I do not. I agree
Mm-hmm.
with majority what he's saying. He's like, I may not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily agree as far as in terms of like dating or whatever the case may be, but when it comes to hard work, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to work ethic, I'm sorry, not
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to your work, your career path,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to fitness, when it comes to your relationship with your family, when it comes to your relationship with God, if you are religious, like he's like, I align with every single one of those things. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't necessarily agree as far as like maybe the lifestyle he lives as far as his
Yeah,
interactions
like
with,
the delivery is always what people get caught up in,
yeah.
but the overall like core message people could align with if it was said from someone else or like delivered from someone else, right? So it's like just because the person who's saying it, you don't want to listen or agree or you want to refute or
Mhm.
combat is what it felt like. I was one of those people initially until I kind of took myself out of the perspective and said, okay, just like step back.
Mhm. I challenge myself. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I was like, I'm having I feel like getting triggered today. Let's see what Ben Shapiro put on,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube today. Let's see what he's got to
Mm-hmm.
say about, incarceration, the black community and stuff like that. And even then, still, after listening to him, I'm like, I agree with him on a lot of stuff. Like, it's
Damn,
just,
he kind of spit right there. Fuck.
he really did. Like, you would be surprised. Like, and that's why they tell people, and they talk about this all the time. It's like, you would be surprised who's on the other side of the aisle that you agree with. And
Mm-hmm.
majority of the stuff that we talk about on a consistent basis, you agree with. It's just the either the beginning or the ending is what you
Mm-hmm.
don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching one yesterday where it was Democrats and liberalists,
Mm-hmm.
middle ground. And they were pretty much saying he was like, guy was a Democrat. And he's like, the one thing that I'll definitely say that Trump always definitely does an amazing job of is that he always says, we're going to prioritize America first.
Mm-hmm.
He does a good job of that. And realistically speaking, when you think about it, okay, living in America, okay, do you want safety and security for your family? Yes, you do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in that capacity, just in general, with that statement alone, if you could, so to speak, have it your way, the benefit at all, who's going to disagree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, right? But it's simply, okay, how are we going to go about getting to this point and what's the end result of it? Now, is it
Mm-hmm.
benefiting everybody or is it benefiting your group?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the upper class or, whatever the case may be. But he's just like, if you guys really pay attention, a lot of us are saying a lot of the same stuff. We just have different values in
Yeah.
other places. But essentially, most important for us is that we do want safety and security for our families. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough thing to watch when you do have to, which I used to be like that. I used to hate that. It's kind of like, oh, well, right message, wrong messenger. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
ever, because I was thinking about it in an extreme example, it's not even extreme, it's common. Go on the street, I don't know, go in downtown Dallas. A bum's going to hold up a sign that says, take care of your family, save your money. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to give some random advice or a verse or whatever the case may be. Now, is that person right? Yes, they are. 1000%. Now, do I want to hear that from you, though? No, I don't. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're living on the street. You're not prioritizing your money, or you're not taking care of yourself. You're not doing X, Y,
Yeah.
Z, all the things that you said that you expect me to do. And I would definitely say that that's something that you have to learn to turn that on and off. Like you're not always going to get the best advice from the people that you want. Usually the people with the best advice who are already at the end goal,
Yeah. Ha.
they right. They are usually so far down the line that they're just kicking just general information that you're going to be able to like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
be healthy, manage your money, da da
Yeah.
da da da. Like I'm doing all that, but I need a specific piece of advice. That
Yeah.
homeless person could be your saving grace right there. But you don't
Yeah.
want to hear it because that person's homeless. You have
Mm-hmm.
to learn to turn that off sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
I get
you,
that. I
you,
get that.
you can't be picky with good information.
That that idea is so interesting in today's world of the people who've already made it giving like whatever their advice is, right? Like
Mhm.
the best investors in the world, just hold your money into one thing and just let time go. and then you'll wake up and when like later, and then you'll be a millionaire, blah blah blah. And
Right.
it's like, okay, cool. The core message is what, like, make smart decisions.
Wake up at 4 a.m. Get you an LLC.
That's what I'm saying. Get you an LLC. Make sure that you're spending at least this much time on it, and make sure you're doing all these things. And I'm like, that
take out a loan. Oh, get to the bank at 8:01. Have $600,000, in your bank account. And a loan from them by 9:02. Put that into housing. Like it's just like, nah,
it's
man.
that kind of stuff that I'm like, it's it's like, okay, wow, what you're telling me, this stuff that's general knowledge that everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I ever be interested in you and paying you for like more advice?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a lot of these courses now, a lot of these classes, a lot of these like businesses revolved around helping you do better in your business,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you want to do. Like, obviously, people who sell like YouTube courses, creator courses, the people who sell like business courses, like how do you like marketing and all that stuff, right? They all sell these courses. And so what I find interesting sometimes is, okay, and I've come across this in the past, where people, when they were doing the thing, they really weren't as successful as when they were talking about and trying to teach other people how to do the thing that they weren't really good at doing. But in the process of telling somebody how to do it, they have success. But it's like, I don't know if you actually did the thing successfully. So why I couldn't wrap my head around like why is you talking about how to do it more successful than you actually doing it? Because you haven't proven to me that you did it. It's sorry. I think I'm talking in circles, but
No, you're making a very strong point, and like you're going through and saying, I don't know if you realize it because
no,
you're
yeah.
you're
But
essentially talking about what you said
I
earlier. It's about
I'll use
value.
I'll use the example, right? I'll use the example because it's easy to wrap your head around when you create content.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what you talk about, what you want to talk about, and create content around what you want to talk about isn't blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you create content around creating content, boom, 100x growth. And it's like, okay, well, it's so interesting how you creating content about the thing you initially wanted to talk about didn't work, but you telling me how to do what you're doing is working. But in my head, that's when I take a step back and I'm like, but they weren't really successful previously, so I don't know how this is working for them either. And I kind of don't want to feed into that. I want to take what they say with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that happen so much that I'm like, okay, this can't be right. There's everybody's saying the same thing. I get what they're saying. So in my head, I'm like, I would never want to pay you to tell me these things because you didn't really make it.
Mm-hmm.
But the realization that I had after all of that was, everybody is selling to somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because people who already know aren't going to buy your shit anyway.
Right.
So you're always selling to somebody who doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're telling them, I can help you know and do better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll pay you. And then once they pay them and find out maybe they had a good experience, maybe they had a bad experience. I've seen that a lot of times people have bad experiences more than good experiences. They're like, I didn't need to pay someone for that information. Nothing that I paid you for, I couldn't have gotten for free if I'd spent a little bit more time or like looked somewhere else and not just like over here. Time. Yeah, exactly.
But you did though.
Yeah.
That's the interesting part about it, is that you're either gonna pay now or pay later.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for that time. You're really paying for that lesson, because it's like, let's be honest, you never ever in your life wasted time with something that you had to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
But you wasted almost every opportunity for something that was given to you for free.
Yep.
Why? Because it doesn't have value, because you cannot determine the value of something that's free without, like, somebody puts $1 to this. Okay, that value is worth $1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's worth $50 now. How many people are going to these I can't remember what that guy's name is, but he's like some business tycoon, but he kind of got like I think he's from the East Coast and stuff like that. He one day I'll figure. I wish I could figure out his name. But I sit here and watch him talk sometimes, and I'm kind of like, I don't see anything special about this. What this guy is saying. Like I remember this one
Yeah.
chick. She's like, can you show me how to be successful? And he's like, you're already successful. You're successful right
Mm-hmm.
now. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a nice soundbite or a nice little reel, for somebody
Yeah.
who needs, motivation or whatever the case may be. But I would be that person in that guy's face, like, no, dude, I just paid $200 for your seminar. Like, can you give me some real advice? I don't need encouragement, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, I don't need encouragement. I don't need motivation. I have dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm good on that. Can you tell
Mm-hmm.
me how to get A to B? That's
Mm-hmm.
what I need.
That's the thing. I was talking with Major a couple of weeks ago, and we were having a really good conversation, and I brought this up of like I paid for this Etsy course back in beginning of 2022 when I was first launching Fableware,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, you know, I had reasoned myself through it after honestly hours of research, free research into videos and stuff, and just trying to see things. I was like, maybe, I talked to myself. I ran by my dad just to make sure I wasn't just talking, like convincing myself of a bad decision. I was like, I think this could help.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I actually went through the course, I was like, shit, half of this is like what you already said on your YouTube channel. And then the other half is not like tangible. It's like very conceptual based,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not very tangible like help. It's like obviously videos and things like that. And then go do your homework and then all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
no one's actually like sitting down with you and showing you this is what I did.
Right.
You go to this website or you go to this web app or you print and you set the code up like this and this is your output. And
Mm-hmm.
if you see this output and you do this X amount of times, look at like all those things, right? There's very limited tangible advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because even behind the paywall, which I get if you don't want to give that stuff out for free, because why would you give out your knowledge for free when other people would want to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
But even behind the paywall, it's like, how is that like how are you telling me this is going to work and then it didn't work? And then the extreme examples of like maybe it just doesn't work for me. I realized Etsy wasn't for me. The shop is still for me. The ideas are still for me. I think I could still make it work, just not on that platform. Or I'm not the person to do it. I would have to pay somebody else to do it at that point because I don't have I could not wrap my head. That was not my expertise.
Mm-hmm. I think we
So then
talked about this before. That's the
we
interesting
might
part.
we might have but then when as Major and I were breaking it down and kind of what I came to the realization is okay, yes, I wasn't successful in, well, I say not successful. If I had just left it up, it would have stayed a success because people still ask me about the clothing till this day if I'm wearing it outside or if my wife is wearing it. People like who are around her that ask her, hey, where did you get that? Oh, my husband makes these things. Oh, I would love to buy one. Oh, that sucks. I closed down the shop last year. So there's no way for them to buy it because I was just, not wanting to keep it up if I wasn't doing anything on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a ton of experience based on what I tried to do with the course.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ton of experience that I can leverage for the next time that I try and do it better.
Right.
And to your point, that's when I was like, okay, maybe the entire value of what I paid for it wasn't a waste. I did feel like some of it was not as valuable as I would have expected or thought or wanted. But I still know how to do it now. And so now that I know how to do it, I can either try again and hopefully do it better, or if I pay someone else to do it, I have done it myself. So I know what I like, I know what I want, I know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I'm paying someone else to do it for me, I know what to look for. I know that they're not going to scam me. I know that they're not jipping me. I know that what a good job looks like. And that's kind of, but that was like a very extreme case of, at first I was really sour about it because I was like, it didn't work. What the fuck? I paid all this money. I watched all these courses. I did all this work. I learned how to do SEO. I got these SEO subscriptions because you have to pay for their services per month. I did all this research. Idea 1 didn't work. Idea 2 didn't work. Idea 3 didn't work. Okay, idea 4. Wait. Sales. Cool. Okay. But now I can't spend all of my time doing this. I have a YouTube channel and a podcast channel to do. I can't do I can't make all the videos for everything all the time. How do I, what happens there? Oh, well, if you just set up your listing with good SEO, you don't even have to run ads. You don't have to do marketing. I'm like, fuck. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All of my traffic is outside of the actual marketplace. Yes, you do. And I think where I stopped, where if I had gone a little bit further, I probably may have had a little bit more success, is I didn't do external ads. This is just like an example, like not trying to get so nerdy on this, even though I love I love nerding out on this shit now.
No,
if I had just gone forward with like learning how to do Facebook ads, Google ads, I think that could have like saved myself the headache of half a year of, okay, now the shop is up and I just don't want to touch it right now. I'm doing other things. Life is changing. Life is whatever it is. I just closed on the shop because I was so upset with everything in life. So now I know for the next time, okay, you know what sells, you know what designs sell, you know what a listing looks like, you know what SEO looks like, you know how to take pictures, better pictures of all the listings. You know how distribution works, you know how shipping works, you know how the cost works. Okay, last thing you need to learn is ads, and then we can try again. And it'd be better.
Right.
So that's the lesson that I learned from there. But I've taken every single time I come across a video that's like, do you want to learn how to make better videos? I'm like, next. I'm gonna tell you in 3 steps how to go from this to this. I'm like, next, because I'm like, I don't need any of that now, because I just paid for that period of time what I needed there, and so none of these things have any effect on me now. Versus, I think if I hadn't paid for it and done the course, to your point, I would have still been going through a lot of free videos, free advice, all this stuff, and kept thinking, is this right? Is this accurate? Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? I would have never tried it actually because I didn't pay. Because, once you pay for a course, you're like, I have to fucking try this thing.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You can't not try the thing at that point. So that's kind of, I nerded out and went on a tangent there, but that was fun. That was fun to talk about.
No, I mean, like it all connects, bro. That's why I say, like, and that's why it's so weird to kind of go back and I'm not sure what the word is, but I'll say it's humbling to literally hear. When we grow up, we hear people talk about like, oh yeah, chase success, relentlessly. If you either win or you learn, you never lose. Like anything that you invest into something, it was worth it. Oh no, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Because why? Because you'll never waste that money again. That was the greatest lesson you probably ever got. But you needed that loss or whatever the case may be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's always going to feel good. It's always going to be, you'll be able to take that lesson, use it constructively and say, okay, well, this is what I'm going to correct. Yeah. A lot of it is going to feel like a gut punch. I understand that, but I am definitely in that mindset to where like, I find myself going back and listening to, my father, my grandparents or my mother or whatever, just people that were older than me in different parts of their life, just talking about stuff like, stuff's going to suck, but long term, you will be grateful for it. And even as to your point of like what you're saying about the, again, like I was saying, it's about value to people. The reason why you don't ever have people, you have somebody who starts from 0 and the goal point is 20, but that person is on 8 or 9 when they start, marketing or selling information on how to get to this point. It's like, you ain't even reached the end yet. Why are you selling stuff? But you see that person is successful. Why? Because nobody can ever relate to the top. Nobody. It's impossible. That's why the same way ironically, it's kind of funny while they crack jokes on the Republicans and stuff like that. Is like, man, look how y'all are all here idolizing, Trump, and you can't relate to a thing that he's talking about.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can relate to him except for what he says, but he doesn't live that life. You can say that about celebrities, musicians, entertainers, whatever the case may be. Those people don't live your life. Why are you idolizing this person? Go find somebody who started from the bottom like you and made it to where they're at that particular time.
Yeah.
But the people that are in where we're at that have the most success is that they are selling the hardest point, which is
Yep.
starting.
Yep.
That's the hardest point, is actually getting started. They say like, hey, you want to get started on making videos? 3.8 million views. Let
Mm-hmm.
me show you how to make your videos better. 200,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Because those people are, by the time you get to this point, you probably already learned this lesson and you've already found either 3 or 4 ways how to do this already. The people
Mm-hmm.
that are starting are always going to be the people who are going to value what they're paying for more than anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
because they know that, okay, if I put this money here, then it's going to start me on a path to where I'm going to get to where I need to go, or at the very least, it's going
Yeah.
to point me in the direction I need to go. The same way, like you said earlier, okay, if I didn't pay for this, then I wouldn't have learned X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You have to have those. Beginners are always the hungriest. Kids are
Yeah.
always the most free spirited and ambitious, or whatever the case may be. People in the street are always aggressive about hustling, or whatever the case may be. You know, struggling artists always make their best music when they're starting. Why? Because it's coming from the soul and they don't have as much experience. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
15 writers, or whatever the case may be. Dancers are always super hardcore when they start out about expression because it's unique to them. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't had the ups and downs, okay, a breakup, a death, marriage, divorce, whatever the case, a loss, like traveling,
Mm-hmm.
money, injuries, things of that nature. They haven't experienced those. So everything is pure when it starts out first. And that's when you're driven the most,
Yeah.
because you want it, because you don't know where you're going. I just need to run in a direction and then I'll hit
Mm-hmm.
something. But then most people, whenever they figure out like, oh, I've been running in the wrong direction, I would say more than half of the people say, I'm not I'm not going to backtrack the last 5 years. You telling me I've been doing this wrong the whole time? Yes, you have. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that you can't get back there, because you're going to run faster now that you know what you're doing it, but
Yeah.
it's still a long ways. I don't want
Yeah.
to do it. I'm done with that. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be value in an opportunity that you either gotten, paid for, or missed every
Mm-hmm.
single time. And that is why people who haven't even reached the end make money, because they are literally selling people the entrance to the door. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is where you come in. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll pay for that. But their peers are not paying for that. Look at everybody up until this point. Like, look, that's why it's kind of it's interesting, because what did they say? No talent is a new talent today.
Yeah.
Not to knock them or anything like that, but why do you think that there's such a pop in streamers? Is because, no disrespect to them, but these cats that are making multi-millions of dollars and stuff like that, they have no talent.
Mm-hmm.
No talent. It's like what Dave Chappelle said, is that you can be funny, but it's better to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interesting, people will tune in. If you're funny,
Mm-hmm.
they'll just put you in a box with the rest of a bunch of other funny people. But if you always have something that's going to bring somebody's attention in, they'll pay attention every single time. Donald Trump is interesting. People love, even people that don't like him, pay attention to what he has to say. People are going to pay attention to that stuff because the man always keeps everybody guessing. These
Yeah.
streamers in this day and age, people are not trying to do that. All they're seeing is, I got to get a Twitch stream, YouTube, and a social media account, and all I got to do is just start talking on here, and people send me money. It's the easiest thing in the world. You don't have to try, but you're literally showing people the door. Here's the door. But what they don't tell you, okay, what guests are you bringing on? Are you
Mm-hmm.
focusing on reels this year because that's what's popping the most? Are you updating your story? Are you using
Mm-hmm.
filters? Are you using, what font are you using? Like, things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature. Like, what's your the clip that you're using, to bring people in, and things of that nature. Who are you marketing to? Things of that nature. Are you separating, this content from this content? Because I love anime and I love talking about it, but that's not
Yep.
going to help develop my dance channel. It's two
Right.
separate directions. So
Yep.
it's very much a situation where now people are getting wealthy on talking to all the people that are coming into the door.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's more dedicated. If you taught a dance class right now and you said, hey, I'm gonna teach a dance class, you're probably gonna get maybe like 10 or 15 students, that probably don't know what they're doing. And they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
pay for that class right up until the point that they think that they're better than you. And then
Yep.
what happens? They go in opposing different direction.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to be searching for that. So it's just one of those things, man, to where like I'm really paying attention to what's going on in the world nowadays, and especially the lane that I want to exist in.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be the best anymore. You just have to be interesting. I say that in dance. You ain't got to win every battle, but are people interested in watching you dance?
Yeah.
That's what keeps you getting booked. Not you can
Mm-hmm.
be a total asshole and win, and nobody will ever want to bring you back. You can be the best. But if people, you don't have a good rapport with people, and your craft is unique, they'll bring you back all day, every day. No disrespect, but
Yeah.
me and you both know people that are not that good in the dance community who get asked to do stuff, and they're not that good. But because
I
they're
think
buddy buddy with everybody, then it works.
I think that's been, and this is, I guess, coming from my very logical thinking side of my brain, where I always try and reason what is it about this person that's allowing them success, or that's bringing them success, or whatever it is. And sometimes I can't pinpoint it.
Mm.
And in those situations, I'm like, I don't understand. You know, I love that you brought up the topic of streaming, because that's something I'm heavily into. Not that I'm doing it myself, but like I watch a lot, and so I'm exposed to a lot of like the live streamers and a lot of the like IRL content versus gaming or any other niche content, and it's always like, why why would I ever sit here and listen to you talk? That being said, I don't watch any IRL streamers that actually
Mm.
do that, except me. Like if they're ever IRL streaming, I don't watch,
Mm.
because I'm always interested in like the game or the topic or whatever it is. But I'm like, why would I ever sit here and listen to you talk ever? But that's because I don't find any interest in this person or this whoever it is, but other people may, and I get that. It's just it's a very interesting concept. Yeah, like people will really sit and watch somebody just talk,
Mm.
and not even talk about anything insightful, intellectual, sometimes even interesting. They're just saying nothing. And I'm like, that's so interesting to me.
Yeah, but you're essentially, it's who talked about this? This guy named Peter McKinnon that I follow.
Mm,
He's a videographer. I don't know if you know of him, but
heard
very
of him.
successful. In my personal opinion, I think he's the GOAT. That's just me.
Mm,
So if you ever get a chance, definitely watch his stuff. Peter McKinnon,
got it.
McKinnon.
Mm,
But he was talking about, he's like, when it comes to content, he's like, just make people ask the question about a box. Oh my God, a
mm,
box. And he's like, yeah, a box is a box is a box. And he's like, but once you start looking at something and you have to start asking yourself, why would I watch this? Why is it entertaining? Okay, well, you're already in the trap. Because
mm,
something that doesn't interest you, what happens? You don't think about it.
mm,
I'm not going to get online and I'm not going to watch a video about, I don't know, the history of why squirrels, where they come from. I'm just going to swipe immediately. That's not going to
yeah.
interest me. Respectfully,
Mm,
I'm not interested in animals like that.
mm,
But if I find myself looking at this person's channel talking about squirrels, and it's like, man, how are you so popular? You're just sitting here talking about squirrels. I don't understand. And you kind of like unintentionally start kind of like researching and trying to understand, you've already fallen into it. You're
mm,
literally a part of that algorithm of people. You want viewer retention. You want people to ask why who you are.
mm,
That's it in itself, and that's what you kind of have to do. That's why I say you don't have to be funny. You don't have to be the best. You just need to be interesting.
mm,
People are on these streams and stuff like that because it's interesting. We watch all these content creators do stuff because they've maybe put certain questions or videos in our minds and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, what's he gonna mess up now?
mm,
It's not that I like him. It's just I want to see what he's gonna mess up. Next thing you know, 20
mm,
minutes in, dang, I've watched this fool's whole stream.
yeah.
So it doesn't take much, and that's why it's, again, it keeps coming back to like, you don't have, like, people keep saying like, before you start thinking about making content, don't. You are
Mm,
the content. Oh wow, awakening. I'm the content. Yeah, you idiot. You've been the content the entire time. But what happens? You just watch 50 or 60 videos of people saying that over and over again. And although that information's free, like you said earlier, it's super valuable because people who don't know that find it valuable. So everybody
Mm.
picks up a phone and starts um, streaming themselves the same way, like, and it's kind of it physically or something tangible, I guess that works. Why did everybody buy a selfie stick? Because you wanted people to see you in the world. You wanted to make it look like someone was taking your picture. Don't get me wrong, very self-conscious, very egotistical in my personal opinion. But and even as dancers, like, what are we doing? Prop our camera up and then dance.
Yeah.
You already have the gift of dance. Why do you need to record yourself and then put it up? It's because you want people to see it. You want people to see
Mm-hmm.
the expression in different environments. So it is very much a situation to where it's like, okay, I'm showing you the content while also keeping you engaged in the fact that, like, hey, look, here I am.
Yeah.
Rest of the world, I am the content. Wow, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
This is not good. That video wasn't even good. Doesn't matter. I already got your view.
Yep.
Thank you. You ain't got to heart it. I got it though. And then keep it pushing. You're already a part, so to speak, of the flow of the traffic that they have in there. You're already looking. Why is this important? This is unimportant. Every single time. Every time I see somebody on the other side of the aisle politically that talks about something, yeah, now I'm watching because there is something that you're potentially going to say that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me pay attention. But before it was just like, I hate this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
see, I knew this guy was like he was sexist or racist or homophobic or da 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 da. So okay, well you've already kind of fallen into. There's a really big wasp that just came into my car.
NTO.
Yeah, we're
No.
not gonna freak out because that's what they usually do.
That's what they want. Yeah.
Right. So, but oh no, that's what that is, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that, like, whether you want to or not, people trap you on in this motion right
Yeah.
here all the time. So the
Yeah.
moment that you watch, congratulations, you're part of the algorithm.
I know. It's like fucking Inception.
It is.
Okay, I don't wanna drag this on too long, even though I would love to drag this on for another hour because I think we could. I do want to close this off with something I ask every guest, and that is, you know, in light of all the advice and the insight you've already given right now, what is one piece of advice that you'd like to give to somebody who's listening?
Move with integrity. I can't harp on that. There we go. We're just gonna
All right.
roll
And
that up.
it's up and up.
All right. But I would definitely say, without a doubt, move with integrity. Um, and again, if you don't know what it means, it just simply means doing the right thing when no one's looking. Um, the decisions that you make will shape you. Um, I'll never forget this quote the first time that I worked valet, which is probably one of the most humbling jobs in the world. Um, be mindful of your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Be mindful of your words. They become your actions. Beware of your actions. They become your behavior. Beware of your behavior. They make up your personality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you begin to put yourself in a lane to where you're doing things, that are just wrong, disingenuous, or without any level of integrity or honor, which I know people don't use that word anymore, but I still value it, then that's what's going to become your world. It's going to be your world view. Um, you're not always going to be able to make people happy, but if you move with integrity, at the very least, you give people the opportunity to understand where you're coming from. And integrity is not just simply, oh, I'm going to do the right thing and never do like go about it or put it out into the world. But to have integrity
Mm-hmm.
means to communicate, to be honest, to apologize, to learn, to listen, to shut up and listen to people when they speak.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you take what they say with a grain of salt or you don't agree, sometimes giving somebody the opportunity to speak, knowing that you're not going to agree with them, can diffuse a lot of situations as well. So, you know, move with integrity.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I really appreciate you being so flexible. And when I messaged you last night saying let's do this ASAP, you said let's do it tomorrow. For anybody listening, I've been trying to get him on the podcast for a year and a half now. So I'm just glad that we were able to make this happen.
It's kind of crazy because I always find that funny whenever I hear people in other podcasts like, yeah, man, we're trying to get you for like 2 years. And it's like, dang.
Dang.
Is that really how it is?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Is that
man,
really
you
how
can,
it works?
right? It's like, man, you can get
Yeah.
him on, man. He ain't got nothing to do. He's a celebrity. He has no job. Like, get him out here. And it's just like, it really is hard
It
nowadays. Like, we're
it
not
is.
millionaires, and it's hard to align schedules.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, where can people find you?
They can find me YouTube, King Sylar TV, Instagram King_Sylar, or you can just look me up on Facebook, Trenton King Sylar Butler. Um, yeah, I'm in Dallas, South Side all day. I love talking to people. Hopefully, I love to get back onto this point. To our wonderful host, Mr. Arish, is I love to interview people as well. Definitely love to have you on my channel as
Mm-hmm.
well, so that way we can get your perspective, and maybe I can get my credit score fixed. So we can.
I think I can help you on one of those things, but I don't know which one right now. Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
hilarious.
I definitely want to. I want to create a space as well for dancers as well, because that's the one thing that I noticed that I've researched it for like the last 4 or 5 years. We don't have that anywhere in the scene. You see all these anime podcasts and stuff like that, sports podcasts, but you don't have them anywhere for dancers. And hopefully, Lord willing, sometime in the near future, I want to be able to do that to where it's um, we're able to collaborate and talk and stuff like that, have different opinions and talk about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because again, to this day, no matter what, we are the least appreciated art form out there. So um, yeah, so
Awesome.
support, follow, make sure you subscribe to the End Goal podcast. We need
Holy
that.
shit, he plugged me before I could have plugged myself. Let's
Come
go.
on, man. Come on now.
But no,
Hey,
all the links to Sylar's work is going to be below as well, because that's what we do here. Sylar, I appreciate you once again. Thank you.